a lot of these concerns. The Senator has been in the forefront of affordable housing in our state on issues that affect neighborhoods, and his new legislation clearly has the support of many members of the Senate and Assembly, and it is something that will go a long way in helping foreclosures turn into property values again. The Senator from the 20th District, Senator Raymond Lesniak.
And I apologize, I'm going to have to leave because I do have a 1 o'clock appointment that I have to get to, but I very much wanted to be here to talk about this innovative program that I'm sponsoring in the Senate. Senator Green, Assemblywoman Quijano, Assemblyman Cohen in the Assembly to deal with our foreclosure problem that is such a major problem in every single community in the state. And it's a problem because a foreclosed, boarded up home is an invitation to crime in the neighborhood, brings down the property values of all of the property in that neighborhood, and is a wasted resource for which we have a solution, and that is to use both federal dollars from President Obama, designated for foreclosure issues, state affordable trust fund dollars, municipal trust fund dollars to finance the purchase of all these properties in bulk from the banks who are holding, they want to get rid of them. We can buy these properties at a huge discount, partnership with the nonprofit community, fix them up, deed restrict them for affordable residences. In other cases, sell them at market rate. But the key is to not only provide affordable homes in neighborhoods, but also to improve that neighborhood. For every dollar we're going to be spending on transforming a foreclosed home into an occupied home, the value to that community is going to be tenfold. And I must have to say that we have some resistance from the governor. Does that surprise you? Who would like to see that these dollars are used not for the purposes for which President Obama designated them for, or municipalities or our state laws designated them for A500, which I was the Senate sponsor of, but to balance the budget. So that he can give, I don't want to be political, but so he can give millionaires a tax break. But so we're not going to let that happen. This is too important, and on this issue, we have the wide spectrum of interests representing the state of New Jersey, not only the nonprofit affordable home network, the community of nonprofits, but also the Home Builders Association, the Realtors Association, the League of Municipalities. For the first time ever, probably, and in particular, sure everybody's on the same page. So I'm looking forward to working with everyone. This report just bolsters the need that we have to address. So I'm going to run, but I'm going to see you in Trenton when we get this legislation through. You're going to be invited to the bill signing for sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator. We appreciate your sponsorship on this bill, and I would be remiss if I didn't introduce the person who is responsible and my go-to person on housing in the city of Elizabeth, and that's Susan Ucci, who heads our Elizabeth Home Improvement Office. The bill in the Senate. We also need support in the legislature, and Assemblywoman Annette Quijano has been instrumental in working with the Senator as well as her partner, Assemblyman Joe Crine, on moving this bill forward. And I'd like to ask the Assemblywoman from the 20th District to say a few words. Assemblywoman Annette Quijano.
Wow, I start looking at the quick facts of Out of Reach of New Jersey 2012, and it's eye-opening. This actually corroborates what we already know on the ground level. In the legislative office, every day someone's knocking on our door and asking for help. They cannot pay their rent. And yet, if you drive around the city or other cities, you see boarded up homes, and you say, why not? So I want to thank Senator Lesniak for an innovative way to fix a problem that I think we've had too long for too many people. And for those that don't know, I've been appointed to the Assembly Housing And this is my first time on the Housing Committee, so I wanted to announce that because I need your perspective. I need you to come and tell me what are the problems in your organizations, what you see on the ground level that I may not have seen. My perspective is different, but I was a renter, and as a former renter only 2 years ago, I know my own neighbors' stories, and I know their struggles. And that's why this legislation was so important. And as the Senator said, yes, you need individuals in both houses. And this is such an important piece of legislation that I'm so happy that we have broad-based support. And I look forward to being with you the day we sign this bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Assemblywoman. I know we went out of order, but Krishna Garlic has been working very closely with not only the city, but the Union County Task Force that's headed by Faella, the county manager. And Krishna has been a person that has helped develop affordable housing here in the city of Elizabeth on many occasions. It was Brand New Day that really led the effort in the first ward of our city to get more affordable housing. She has worked with Susan Ucci in our department, with developers throughout the city, in making sure people have access to affordable housing. And she's going to give a brief synopsis on this report and talk about the issues on how state budget problems play into this role as well. Ms. Krishna Garlic, the Executive Director.
Good afternoon. So the 2012 Out of Reach results is an annual national study that is done in partnership with the National Low-Income Housing Coalition and the Housing Community Development Network here in the state of New Jersey. And it discusses rental home affordability. The report provides the housing wage and other housing affordability data for every city, metropolitan area, combined non-metropolitan areas, and county in the country. So this is vital information that we can use locally to help make an argument for why affordable housing is so necessary in the city of Elizabeth and in the county of Cohen. As a community development corporation, Brand New Day recognizes that the development of affordable housing has become increasingly more difficult as there have become significant cuts throughout the state, throughout federal dollars that we're able to access and municipal dollars that are also limited as a result of what has happened on the state level. And I think when you look at some of the statistics, for example, a family must earn an average of $24.79 an hour or a $51,000 salary a year to afford a fair market rent of $1,289 a month for a modest two-bedroom apartment. That really makes it apparent that we need to continue to build affordable housing and find a way for folks to be able to afford to live in Union County. We also know that 60% of renters are unable to afford a two-bedroom apartment at fair market rent, and that you would have to work, this sounds really unbelievable to say, 136 hours or 3.4 full-time jobs per week in order to afford an apartment. So I know for a fact that this is true and that we've been saying this for a long time, and that we have a resident here today who is going to come up and speak to us for a few minutes, and she is a testimony to why this affordable housing and the subsidies that we receive from the city and from the state through home dollars and other sources in the county are valuable to us because they really do impact lives. And so I'm going to ask that Karen Lewis come up and speak for a few minutes. And Karen is a long-time resident of Brand New Day, and is just going to tell her story about how having subsidized housing has made a difference for her and what it was like before she was able to move into Brand New Day.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Good afternoon. My name is Karen Lewis. I'm a little nervous, but this is coming from the heart. Thank you for allowing me to talk about Brand New Day and the wonderful work they do. Before we moved into Brand New Day's affordable housing, we were struggling to pay rent and having difficulty making ends meet. Since living here in our Brand New Day apartment, we've been able to save money. We attended Brand New Day's financial fitness classes which helped us clean up our credit and save money. Because of all this, we're okay. We continue to live in a quality housing. I have 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a walk-in closet. $637 a month, my family. That's a blessing. I encourage the city, the county, the state, legislators to do all they can to continue to provide affordable rent for low-income families like me. Thank you so much.
So when we hear criticism that projects are too heavily subsidized, for example, we know that when we richly infuse affordable housing projects with subsidy, what happens is we're able to help someone pay $637 a month in rent, opposed to $1,200 a month in rent, and the difference that makes in someone's life. And because of that, there's so many other things that a family is able to do, like put their children in extracurricular activities, or make purchases for their children to go on trips, or be able to afford food, and so many utilities, and so many other things. And so there is a huge impact that is made as a result of typically subsidizing affordable housing projects. At this time, I would like to call up our partner from the Housing Community Development Network of New Jersey, and the lead on really getting the outreach study to our community, and the representative from the network who will come up and speak is Cohen.
Thank you, everybody. This is a wonderful event, and it's great to have you all here. I want to talk for a few minutes about the report itself. So the Out of Reach report is published annually by the National Income Housing Coalition using data from HUD and from the United States Census. As you'll see, New Jersey ranks 4th as the least affordable place in the nation. That's behind Hawaii, California, and Washington, D.C. To gauge affordability, the National Income Housing Coalition and the network use a widely accepted measure that 30% of a person's income should be spent on housing. In New Jersey, if you look at the statewide data, it means that a family would have to earn on the average of $25.04 an hour, or $52,000 a year, in order to afford the fair market rent for a modest 2-bedroom apartment. Using the same formula, a New Jersey worker working minimum wage at $7.25 an hour for a 40-hour week makes $15,080 before taxes, and they can afford $377 a month for housing. So in order to afford that modest 2-bedroom apartment, a minimum wage worker, this is statewide now versus what we're just talking about in Union County, would have to work 138 hours with 3.5 full-time jobs. Even at the mean renter wage of $16.40 an hour, a person would have to work 60 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, in order to afford that fair bedroom rent for a 2-bedroom apartment. People living on Social Security Supplemental Income, or SSI, get $729 a month. And they can't come even close to affording the fair market rent of $994 for a studio apartment. However, the affordability crisis, and many of you know, has gone far beyond minimum wage worker. We have the information that we've handed out, a chart that shows that there's wide swaths of professionally employed individuals who cannot afford the housing wage in our state. Child care workers, home health aides, security guards, the very people who are guiding our next generation, making our economy hum, and protecting all of us, cannot afford rent housing in the state. In fact, preschool teachers, emergency dispatchers, dental technicians, and even reporters as a group earn below the housing wage. The housing wage of $24.04 is the salary someone needs in order to afford the fair market rent. As established by HUD, the fair market rent quote is the amount needed to pay the gross rent, social shelter, plus utilities, privately owned, decent, and safe rental housing of a modest nature with suitable amenities. I'd like to point out some of the county differences between most expensive and least affordable. Most expensive refers to housing costs, while least affordable concerns the cost of wages of residents in the county. So in this way, we see that Bergen and Passaic County are the most expensive counties in the state. But yet, if you look at least affordable, Passaic County, where 78% of the renters cannot afford a fair market rent, is the least affordable. However, Cumberland and Somerset, where housing is cheaper, are 69% of renters there cannot afford the housing wage. The other thing I'd like to draw people's attention to is the estimated number of renters unable to afford a two-bedroom apartment. So in Essex County, for example, where 53% of the total households are renters, the fact that 66% of renters can't afford a fair market rent has a much greater impact than in Cumberland or Salem County, where less than a third of the people living there are renters. In fact, you'll notice that rental opportunities were really concentrated in the four northern counties, I'd say Essex, Passaic, and Union. So for the median salary worker, not only are they facing the high cost of rental, but you also have the availability of rental housing that is very scarce outside of those four northern counties. Almost all these numbers are up from last year. The plain truth is that New Jersey still has a housing crisis. Yet, as you've heard before, our political leaders behave as there's no crisis and no need. Our leaders should read this report and recognize the need and take action. Governor Christie's 2012-2013 budget takes $300 million that should be being used for housing programs in order to fund the governor's projected 10% income tax cut. That is wrong. The governor's budget is calculating as revenue more than $225 million from municipal housing trust funds and $75 million from the federal government's mortgage settlement to fill this budget gap. New Jersey is still recovering from the recession. In its wake, we have thousands of foreclosed homes, vacant properties, and a huge backlog of unmet needs for affordable places to live. The state's economy is fragile, making this a critical time to make careful decisions that will support the recovery and position us for increased opportunity. Creating more jobs means making it easier for employers to recruit and maintain good workers. New Jersey can and must act to improve and stabilize its housing affordability and variety across the state. The first step is to transform foreclosures to blighted properties that are holding us back and deposit assets. And you've heard from the Assemblywoman and from Senator Lesniak about the bill that they've sponsored, the Senate Bill 1566, Assembly Bill 2618, New Jersey Residential Transformation Act, which is a very productive way to use those dollars that the governor is threatening to take. The other piece of legislation that is before the legislature right now is the increase in minimum wage from the current $7.25 to $8.50. You really have the two pieces of the equation. If people earn more, then they can afford more housing. If they don't earn more, then they're at a place where the market is not providing them a place that they can afford to live, and so therefore we need to be subsidizing their rents. In either case, we need the intervention of the state of New Jersey to take positive action on these two bills that are before it so that we can help address the situation. Thank you.
Thanks, Arnold. So in closing, I would like to invite up one last speaker, as we talk about the foreclosure bill, I remember coming back from a meeting in Essex County and hearing the statewide statistics around foreclosure, probably I guess about 3 or 4 years ago, and coming back and meeting with Susan Witchney, and she and I talking about how the foreclosure numbers were so high and significant in Union County and specifically in Elizabeth, and wanting to form a similar task force in Union County that they had in Essex County. And Susan and I believe it was the two of us, went and met with Karen and now County Director Faella with the idea of starting a task force. And he wholeheartedly said, we totally think that this should happen. We have to respond to the crisis here in Union County, and has been totally 100% supportive. And so I'd like to thank him publicly, but also invite him up to give some closing remarks as we end this press conference.
Thank you. The pressure's always on me with last week before lunch, so believe me, I'll be free. I just want to, first of all, thank Krishna for proposing the idea of having a Union County Foreclosure Task Force. When I presented it to my boss, George Devaney, who was county manager, he enthusiastically supported it, and our freeholder board has. I'd like to thank Mayor Bollwage for all his efforts and all his support on this issue. And we're also very fortunate that we have people like Assemblywoman Quijano and Senator Lesniak that, first of all, understand the issue and are committed to resolving it. When we started the initiative, the task force in 2008, we worked with our community partners, with Brand New Day, Faith Brick and Mortar, and the Urban League. And we're continuing to do that. We committed $100,000 in county CDBG funds to provide more counselors for our agencies. That's a very important piece to this puzzle, and we would like to do more. I know that's not enough, but on the federal level, our grants have been cut, so we're continuing to do the best we can with the limited funding that we have. We've also held numerous task force meetings and workshops here in Elizabeth with Susan's help and Roselle and Plainfield and other communities that are hit hard by foreclosure to provide them the information and the tools that they need, because unfortunately, some people don't know and don't have access to the information. But even worse, there are some unscrupulous people out there that are providing false information and charging people money, saying, I'm going to help you, and actually to make the situation even worse. So that's something that we're going to continue to do, even on a door-to-door level. Working with the Department of Housing and Urban Development, we've received about $3 million in NSP 1 and NSP 3 to revitalize neighborhoods throughout the county that were affected by foreclosure. We're very pleased to support this legislation on the state level because it's going to provide more dollars for affordable housing that we need, but also it will help us to leverage the federal dollars that we receive. So we win both ways. Finally, on another note, jobs are a key component to people being able to stay in their homes and to pay their mortgages. So we're working very closely with Kane University, Union County College, and VOTEC to keep jobs here and have our Union County Means Business initiative create even more jobs and help maintain the jobs that we have here. So on behalf of our freeholder board, our chairman, Maribella, and the entire board, I want to tell you that we are 100% committed to working on this issue, and it's time to redouble our efforts to make sure that decent housing is available to all our Union County residents. Thank you for letting me be a part of this.
So just want to thank everyone for coming out. Obviously, the idea is that we want to get this study out to as many people as possible. So download it, use it, send it out to folks, use it in speaking engagements, use it at your housing meeting, right? So it's great statistics that we can use. I want to invite you, Assemblywoman, to join the task force. I think it's a great place for you to get access to folks who really are committed to housing. I'm sure that Catherine's back there. We can make sure we add you to the mailing list, and that we want to be a resource to you so that you have information. And then I feel like I have to jump on the bandwagon of earlier we were at ribbon cutting for the Elizabeth Court Health Center. And as I'm listening to everyone talk about the governor and decisions he's making and how housing is not a priority. There was a few people who got up and said that our mayor should run for governor. And so I'm closing with, I totally agree and support that concept.
I'll wrap it up.